Hello, beauties. Welcome to Moms Unboxed, a podcast where I unbox with you the how-tos, tips, and tricks to empower women to upgrade relationships, intimacy, and parenting. I'm your host, Melanie Caroline, a multi-dimensional woman, life coach, lover, and mom who's made a lot of fucking mistakes. If you want to live a sensual and liberated life, you've come to the right space. Don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed because you don't want to miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Moms Unboxed. How you mamas doing today? I hope that you're having a fabulous week, and if you're not, I trust that it will turn around for you. I have someone so special today. Her name is Angie Grandt, and she's a generational healing specialist and a holistic coach who specializes in human design. And if you mamas have never heard of human design, this is going to be a real treat. I'm so excited for this episode. Angie, say hello to all the women and mamas listening today.
Hi, mamas. I am just so excited to be here. I knew as soon as I met you, Melanie, that this was going to be such a great episode and probably opening the door for so many things to come. Like you said, I'm a generational healing specialist, and I would also add too, so I use human design as a tool, but I really specialize in problematic behaviors or parents who they're good parents. They're trying so hard and their relationship is really strained. That really is trauma, attachment. Those are at the core of what I love helping parents work through. So I'm so excited to be here.
I love that work. And it hits so close to home for me because my oldest has ADHD and autistic tendencies, and his behaviors throughout his life has been really difficult to deal with. And I had no idea what human design was and how it could impact the way I parented my son. And I wish I would have known sooner so that I had more tools in my belt so that I could understand how he thought and why the behaviors were occurring outside of diagnosis. Can you help us understand what exactly is human design and how it can impact the parenting?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not going to say that ADHD doesn't exist, right? Like I'm not going to throw that out there. But what I do want parents to leave listening to this episode is to perhaps have a different view of your child, because sometimes what looks like ADHD or impulsivity is perhaps a part of their energy. And when we understand that about our kids and we understand their unique needs, we parent differently and we take different approaches. Because I don't know about you, but I know in my experience, I also wish I knew this when my kids were younger. But the strategy for those ADHD symptoms is often medication management or therapy. But now knowing what I know about my kids, I'm like, they just needed me to parent them differently to provide different opportunities. All right. So what is human design? It's this beautiful system that's been around for several decades, but it's based on ancient wisdom. So it pulls in astrology, it pulls in the Chinese I Ching, the Judaic Kabbalah, quantum physics, and the chakra system, and it puts that all together. And so the idea is that when each of us are born, we each have our own very unique blueprint of our energy. And so what that tells us about ourselves is not only what we're broadcasting out into the world, what our kids are broadcasting out into the world, but also what we and our kids are picking up from us, from their siblings, from their teachers. So it shows us how we receive other people's energy and how we put energy out there. And then, of course, then it shows how we interact with each other. And going through, I did pull your chart, and then you asked me to look at your twins because so this is actually the first time I've pulled twins charts, and I was so hoping like maybe there's something different about their chart, and there isn't. They have the exact same chart. And I thought, well, this is a fun challenge on a podcast to talk about this, but it isn't at all, because our kids aren't just their human design. We're going to dig into, what their design is, but they aren't just their design, right? Your twins, they've had different life experiences, and they also have a genetic makeup that came from you and their dad. And each piece of human design has a shadow and a gift aspect. So what that means is that everything falls on a frequency. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But when we learn about our human design, it isn't you're a projector or I'm a generator. It's that you have the energy of a projector, and you, once you understand it, you get to choose to live in the high energy or live in the low energy of it. And so when you think about your kids, right, not that they're making choices necessarily at this stage of the game, they're still young. And even as adults, before we know this, we're not making choices. We're just being who we've been taught to be, right? Until we
Right.
know, right? Until we know. But even with your kids, they have been conditioned, influenced to live out perhaps the shadow of one part of their design, and the other twin might be living out the higher energy of that exact same part of their design. It's all the same thing. So when we first learn about human design, we usually talk about type. And you had shared with me that you're a type called a projector. I'd love to hear what your experience has been just learning about your type.
Yeah. So when I first was introduced to human design, my mind was absolutely blown because I was understanding like why I was the way I was. I get tired easily. Like I can produce a lot and work really hard and get a lot done, but then I'm exhausted. I struggle with that because the kids want to go, go, go and do all the things. And I'm like, I'm exhausted after like 2 activities. And that's because a projector, from my understanding, does not produce her own energy.
Yeah.
So a projector needs naps. They need time to rest and rejuvenate.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I wake up feeling re-energized and I'm able to do, this is just what I've heard, I'm able to do like 10 times more in a shorter period of time than the other types.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you described that too. So yeah, so you are what we call a projector type, which is a non-sacral. So if we look at, there are 5 types, or some people say there are 4 types and one has a different flavor to it. But 70%, so the vast majority of the types are sacral types, meaning they have that sacral energy, the energy to work a 9-to-5 job, the energy to work on multiple projects. And for the generator types, I'm one of them, and so are your twins, that we have energy to go, 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 do, do, do. And really what burns us out is if we're not doing work we love. But if we're doing work we love, we could go forever. Where the non-sacral types don't have that consistent energy. But like I was describing a little bit before, because your sacral is open, it means that when you're around others who have that sacral energy, that's what gives you that energy to like go 10 times, is that you can borrow their sacral energy to crank out big projects quickly, but then you're depleted because it wasn't your energy in the first place, which is also really interesting, right?
That is very interesting. And I had an experience last night where I was so tired. I had a client and I was doing energetic healing work. And I was like, I'm tired, but I had an event that I had to go to where I was going to be doing energetic resets. And I left my house like feeling so exhausted. But as soon as I entered the space around other women and feeling the energy of it and the music, I refueled so quickly.
Yeah.
And I was able to do the energetic resets, talk to people, mingle, chat, connect. And I was feeling so good. But of course, when I left, I was like, okay, I'm tired.
Yeah, that's so funny and so spot on too with my experience with other projector types is so every other week I host this mastermind. So it's all people, we're all studying human design together. Even though the projector type is I think less than 20% of the population in my mastermind, more than half the people that show up are projectors because they do best by talking things out and hearing their ideas come out of their mouth or hearing their ideas reflected back by somebody else. And but I hear time and time again that the projectors in the group say that when they're there, they like they like borrow our sacral energy, and they say after the call, even though it might be 10 o'clock at night, they're like, I'm the most productive because I just go, and I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted after the call. Like I give it my all, and then I'm like, all right, I gotta go to bed.
Yeah.
Generator type, it's different, right?
And it's so funny that you said, I love how you said this because it's so confirmational, that projectors have to talk things out. I literally said that to my partner yesterday because he's starting to like create these analogies for me, like I'm beating a drum or like beating a dead horse. And I'm like, please stop thinking it as like negative because I just have to talk things out. That's how I process. That's how I deal with my worry. And I talk about my projects and different courses that I want to create. And I process out loud. And so that totally makes sense as a projector that they process out loud because I thought it was just like a me thing. But now that you're saying that's correlated with being a projector, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's how you're designed.
It's how I'm designed.
I
Yeah.
love that. So you have this projector type, and really you're designed to some of your decision making you do by talking things out. But the other thing I wanted to point out about your design, which I think is really interesting as a mom, is your decision making is actually about your spleen. And what that means is that you have this instinct, this knowing that is probably fleeting, but it is your truth. And so I'm so curious how you've experienced that, because I have a different decision making strategy than that. And so I don't experience it quite in the same way, but I'm so curious. Like, do you have these things where you're like, you just know and you don't know how you know, but if you don't act on it right away, it's kind of fleeting and it's gone?
Yes. So when I learned about the spleen, I was like, really? That's interesting. Let me try to tune in more and
Mhm.
understand it. But I find it to be a little bit difficult to tap into that because it is fleeting. It's very quick, right? So when I think about something, like I was thinking about what I could do to elevate my community, and I was like, I should do a rage party to help women process their frustration and their anger and focus on forgiveness. And I was like, fuck yes. So when I notice it's a fuck yes, I'm like, okay, that's my spleen saying this is an absolute amazing idea. Or when the kids ask me, can we go to Lake Taps and go swimming? And I'm like, yes. But if I notice that I'm like, I don't know, I need to process and think about it. And then I tap into like my energy, right? What do we have going on in the calendar? Am I too tired? Do I want to make that type of commitment? And so I do notice when it's like, ooh, that lights me up. Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't really know. And when I do the I don't really know, I know it's like I need to see the day of how I'm going to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's so cool. And you know, I don't know about your life experience before this, but most of us are taught to not listen to that, right? Like your instincts are telling you something, and then we're taught like, but we need to figure it out. We need to, weigh all the facts. We need to problem solve. But there's no design in all of the human designs. None of us are designed to make decisions with our head. None of us. But we're all trained to do that. You think about schooling and how most of us are parented. We're taught to think things out. You need to think before you act. You need to, you know, ask for other people's opinions. And I say, no, you don't. Your body knows what you need. All of our bodies do, just in different ways. So I, as a generator type, and this is true for your kids too, they have a little fun flavor that I'll tell you about in a second. But your kids have, because they have a defined sacral, that means that their truth is actually in their gut. So it's similar to the spleen and the knowing, but it's in your gut. And so actually the best way to find out what's right for your kids is to ask them yes no questions. I've worked in the autism field. I've worked in early child development, And, I have like all these language building strategies. And so oftentimes it's teaching us to give kids choices, which I'm not saying we shouldn't give choices, but for kids who have a defined sacral, choices can be really hard. And so asking your twins yes, no questions like, do you want to go to the park today? Do you want to help clean up your room now? Do you want to help clean up your room later? Do you want to, like, really clear yes, no questions? And sometimes you have to ask quite a few, but you get at their truth and you get more buy-in from them because it's what's right for their body versus giving them a choice and their sacral's like, none. None of those choices were right for me. And then our head makes a decision based on what we think will keep other people happy, which creates people pleasers. And we don't want that. We don't want to do that for our kids. So I'm curious, like, if you've noticed that about your twins, that yes, no questions versus choices versus open-ended questions, how they respond to that.
I used to ask them questions based on multiple choices because I thought providing options was a good idea for them. But then I would get a lot of, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And I was like, okay, this isn't working. So recently, I have been asking them only one question, like you suggested. Do you want to go to the park? Yes or no? Do you want corn for dinner? Yes or no? And it's like, they'll think about it. Yes. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
I've been doing that more is like, okay, minimize the options. If they give me a no, then provide another option. And that's actually been helping them tap into what they want.
Yeah.
And they're able to express that even more.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool. Well, and the one little tweak. So we say they're yes, no questions, but our sacral actually only says uh-huh and uh-uh. And so if they're saying yeah, then just notice, like, if that really ends up being the right answer for them, that's fine. And perhaps because they are also manifesting generators, so sometimes, so the sacral says uh-huh and uh-uh, but the for a manifesting generator, oftentimes their answer comes out as something different. So the yes no might be their true answer, but if you find that you're like, well, I'm doing the thing and it's not working, like they're saying yes, but they're not, like, then they're not eating the corn or they're not really doing the thing they said they wanted. Then I play a game with kids and say, like, hey, I want to play this silly game. We're going to ask your gut questions, but your gut doesn't have words. It only says uh-huh and uh-uh. And so then just ask them silly questions like, are you wearing a hat? Uh-huh. Are you sitting down? Uh-uh. Are you go through some silly questions and then say, I don't, like, ask them a more serious question. Like, do you want to invite Timmy over to play? And keep them in that phase, and you'll really get at their truth. It's wild to watch it in action, and you can physically see when you do this with somebody with a generator. So I don't know about your significant other, if you know what his type is, but you could play this game with him too. You can see when we go from that gut, like and then somebody asks a question, you're like, and you're like, oh, you're in your head. Get out of your head.
He's actually a manifesting generator too. I'm surrounded by manifesting generators. I don't know what my oldest is though yet. But it's interesting that you say specifically for them to tune into their gut, because what I've also been doing lately when they're like not sure is like, what is your body telling you? But I see how like asking them how their entire body would be a little bit too much, but specifically asking like, what is your gut telling you? I'm definitely going to be trying this. Yeah, and I love the I had no idea.
Yeah. What's funny to watch too. So I think I'd shared with you in a previous chat that we have a multi-generational home on purpose. So my daughter, her husband, and their two little girls live with us, and we're in the process of looking for a family compound because I feel so strongly about breaking old generational patterns about, like, I think so many people are growing up and not even realizing, right? But like I was sexually assaulted because my mom was sexually assaulted because her mom was sexually assaulted, right? We don't even necessarily know it, but we pass this on. Or, I'm a yeller because my dad was a yeller because his dad was a yeller, right? We do these things, and we don't even have to see it in action to repeat it. It's in our epigenetics. It's in our core. And if we want to change that pattern, I don't think we can just talk ourselves out of it. I think it requires us to do that inner work, to shift our frequency, and to make an actual decision that we're fed up with that shit, right? And so we're living in this multi-generational house on purpose to turn all of the old ugly generational patterns in our lineage, to turn them upside down so that they don't even have a space anymore. So I'm a speech therapist for toddlers. That is my day job. And I have two toddlers living in the house. And it, like old Angie, before learning about human design, so they're a generator and a manifesting generator, they need those yes no questions. But speech therapist Angie would give them choices or provide visuals, right? Like do all the things. And speech therapist Angie, when the toddlers are saying speech therapist Angie would have said say yes, right? Because we want good nice words. But that isn't their truth. And so I have worked with the whole family to say, like, no, let her say And it's so funny because I still do it, right? Like we're all human. Earlier today I said, well, do you want to hang out here with me, or do you want to hang out with grandpa, or do you want to go downstairs? And as I'm saying, do you want to hang out with me, she says do you want to hang out with grandpa? Do you want to go downstairs? She's like already, she's doing the thing. She's being a generator, a manifesting generator. I can't give her choices. It doesn't work. If I list off the three choices, she'll like pick the last one and answer to that one. And I'm like, well, I just gave you three choices. Which one did you pick? But she isn't designed that way to make choices. She's designed to listen to her gut. And I'm being so intentional about encouraging her to do that, and for her to not make decisions to make other people happy, right? I don't want to create another little people pleaser in our lineage. That I'm done with it. So it's just so fun to watch.
And I love how you're encouraging her to make choices that is more natural to her. So often I see parents molding their child to answer or respond or act, behave the way they want them to act, behave, and make choices.
Yeah.
And we do this by catering or manipulating the way they respond, or if they didn't say it the way we want them to, we make them shift or change. And when we take human design into consideration and we really start encouraging our children to respond, act, and behave in a way that is actually within their genetics and their human design, it gives them this liberated freedom to be their authentic self. And we raise our children to be their authentic self at a young age by understanding how it is they're actually coded, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, right? Like you're not wrong, Melanie. We as parents do so many things to try to shape our kids, right? We want them to fit in. We want them to do well at school. We want them to make friends. We want them to be a kind human. There are all these things that we want for our kids, but the only lens that we have to look at them through is our own lens about what worked for me, or when I have made decisions that make me feel empowered or authentic or like a good human. And so we give our kids feedback about what works for us. But your kids are nothing like you. There are some really interesting pieces that are similar, but your kids are nothing like you in many, many ways. And so as parents, if the only lens that we can look at our kids through is our own lens, we're totally missing our beautiful ability to help them be their authentic, badass little selves, right? We have this beautiful tool to help them with that in a way that I didn't have when my kids were little, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Can you tell our beautiful audience, what else does HD teach? Because I know it's just so much more than like the projector, reflector, manifester, generator. What else does the HD chart teach you if someone wanted to like dig into that?
Oh my gosh, how many hours do we have? We were chatting earlier about ADHD, and I don't know anything about your kids other than what their design looks like, but both of them are a manifesting generator. So I know I want to chat about something else quick too, but in that piece, being a manifesting generator means they have that sacral energy to do work, but that manifesting part means that a manifester or that manifesting generator has this, we call it an internal nonverbal creative flow. It's kind of like they have source within them that is guiding them to figure out the next best path for humanity. It's a big task on little humans, right? But they have this guide within them that we can't see, that they probably can't put words to, but it can cause them to do things that when we don't know what's happening as the outsider, we're like, wait, where are you going? Don't do this. Don't do that. Like, don't get into this. Or we tend to, the manifesting generator type tends to get the most feedback about like, whoa, slow down. You're going too fast. You can't go here. You can't go there. You're doing this. You're doing that. And which can look like ADHD. There are actually quite a few elements in the chart that can look like ADHD. One is having an open root, right? That's kind of at our base. It's where we pick up pressure from the outside world. When kids are open there, it can look like ADHD. Having in their profile lines, it's another part of our personality. You're asking what else can it tell us? Our human design can tell us really core pieces about our personality and how we're designed to be. For me, this was one of the biggest learning areas for me because I know who I am. I understand my personality. I tend to be shy and keep to myself. And I used to feel shame because of that. I used to get feedback about like, you need to be more outgoing. You need to put yourself out there. You need to socialize more, which created this story in me about like, maybe I'm broken. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm too awkward. Maybe I'm too whatever. And learning human design, it's like, oh God, no, I'm supposed to be going in to learn. And then I go out once I've learned and integrated what I need to, then I go out and share. And I'm really good at that. But I need to honor that I need that alone time instead of shaming it or feeling bad for it. So human design it can be so liberating to put words to what you've been experiencing and perhaps what you've been told you shouldn't be. Because like I said, like when we look at somebody, we can only look through our own lens unless we have a different lens. And I think human design is that lens to help us, see our kids, see our relationship dynamics.
I love that. It is so liberating when I understood a little bit more about why I was the way I was and that there was nothing wrong with me for, being tired or wanting naps or even enjoying my quiet and alone time. It just made so much sense when I understood and discovered my human design. And I've also discovered that I'm an open head center, which is why I have so many ideas. And I was like, because I literally was like, I just have like, I wanted to label myself like, I just have ADHD. I have so many ideas. I'm just going around. It's like, no, wait, you have an open head center, which means you literally drop with downloads all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I understood that, I was like, oh, okay, there's nothing. This is just how I am designed. And that's perfectly perfect.
Yes. And the other thing I would say too is that it is about how you're designed, and every one of us, our kids, the crotchety neighbor down the road, we're all perfectly designed to fulfill whatever our purpose is on this planet. And so you having an open head center is a necessary part for you to fulfill your purpose. And so if we don't understand our design, and then like you said, you're like, I'm so ADHD, or I get feedback about that. People say, I like have too many thoughts going on. And human design through that lens says, no, you need to have that openness to gather all those ideas, get all those downloads, because it's actually your life's work. So your most important gate in your design is in your open ajna, your head center, right? It's it's in there, which means in order for you to fulfill your life's work, you have to be open to that inspiration and those ideas. And if you let conditioning, like let other people's ideas or that idea of ADHD make you think like, maybe I need to slow down what's coming in. Maybe I need to do something to like turn that off or whatever you think you could do over that, right? We can't turn off our openness, but it to see it as like, oh, yeah, this is how I be me. This is how I tap into these gifts that I've been given. It's the same is true for your kids too.
Yeah. Wow. That is incredible. I just can't wait to dive deeper into all my kids' human design so that I can understand them on a deeper level and start really shifting my parenting that is going to help them understand themselves more. Like you were saying, manifesting generators tap into their gut and nah. Like, I'm like, I had no idea. That's amazing. I'm going to start implementing that and seeing how that changes the way they advocate for themselves, how they shift the way they make decisions. So I'm very excited, Angie.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I guess kind of maybe the last thing that I'll share out there as we're talking about human design is human design tells this story that for the past 400 years, 400-ish years, we've been in this energy of like systems and structures and trusting outside authority. We've seen this as you look through any history book about how, like school, the education system was built, the medical systems were built. You can go into any big city and see systems and structures everywhere. And we as parents have been feeling for a while now, a couple of years, maybe even a couple of decades, but feeling like something doesn't feel right anymore. Like the way that we were parented, the like, parent knows best kind of mentality, we know that that's BS. But human design tells the story that we're actually moving into the energy of individualism. And it's not like a selfish individualism. It's actually like being our own inner authority to help move humanity forward in the direction it's supposed to. And essentially it says like, as parents, as humans, we have to understand ourselves better in order to really step into our purpose, in order to fulfill this like huge task that's been given to humanity. And whether or not you believe any of this stuff, we see it happening all around us. We see how things have changed. If you are into politics, if you have access to any type of medical health care, if you like any of those systems, you can see that their structure is changing. And it's because it's supposed to be happening. And it feels kind of gross right now, right? Because we're in this like everything feels kind of chaotic and shifting, but there's a reason for it. So actually go into it a little bit deeper. I created a little mini podcast that I'll send you the link for, because I go a little bit deeper into that and really helping us as parents to shift how we're showing up for our kids, because our kids need us to do different.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, definitely send the link. And mamas, you can look for that link in the description of the podcast episode. I am so thrilled we were able to do this today. Angie, tell our listeners how they can find you.
So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all the things under Connected Parents with Angie. So that's the best way to find me. And, I'd love for you to take a listen. So the private podcast, you have to get the link. You can't search for it, but it's called The Parenting Reset. And it really, really is all about us shifting the way we show up. So if you liked what you heard as Melanie and I were chatting, check it out. I think you'll look at your kids differently.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to listen to it. Thank you so much for being here on the Moms Unboxed podcast. I am so thrilled that you were able to share what human design was and how it can impact our parenting and also the way we view our children.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed digging into your design and your kids' design to maybe share some tips to help you shift the way you parent because, yeah, understanding us is so key.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Oh, and one more thing. How can we search our children's human design and ourselves? How would we
Oh,
do
so
that?
I'll send you my website link, and at the bottom of my website, you can just enter your personal birth data there, and then you can see your chart. There's some tips there, and if you want to dig further, I'm your girl. So
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right, mamas, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you know a woman, a parent, a step parent, a caregiver that would benefit from understanding what is human design and how we can shift the way we parent, send them this episode. It would mean the world to me. Thank you again, mamas, for tuning in. And don't forget to live a liberated and sensual life. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Moms Unboxed. If you have a topic or relationship question, connect with me at I am Melanie Caroline. And don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed. May you live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. I'll be chatting with you next Wednesday for another episode. Until the next time, sunshine.